The Jordan Peterson phenomenon's secret. This is his secret. Almost nobody thinks in public. Almost nobody is open enough to actually search for what they want to say and find it. Most people come from a point of dogma. They come from a point of already knowing. They come from already decided. They come from their beliefs. They come from what they think is true. Jordan Peterson simply doesn't do that. Over and over again, he consults his own database, his own knowledge, which is vast, of what's true in that moment, and then he honestly as he can, says it. This means that you never can tell what he's going to say, and this attracts huge audiences because they don't know what he's going to say. It surprises them, it surprises him. It means he doesn't have to remember a lot because he just can check in with himself and say whatever he happens to say. Whoever meets him with a prepared argument has to lose because they're boring, because they're repetitious, because they're more like parrots, and he's more like a creator of what he's saying. There are an awful lot of kids who do this. That's why they call them kids. Little kids do this. Most adults have adopted some sort of anthem, some sort of dogma that they stick with, so they don't do this anymore. Jordan opens himself, putting himself at risk. Most of us adults have learned not to put ourselves at risk. He puts himself at risk, and it's fascinating to watch video after video of him because though his delivery is very much the same, what he says changes. This has resulted in the right-wing Fox people adopting him as their own, the left-wing people adopting him as their own, the central people adopting him as their own, because we don't know what he's going to say next. We can't tell what position he's going to adopt on a regular basis. It makes him a fascinating human being. If you want to, pick this up yourself. When somebody asks you something, rather than pretending that you're on a game show and you have to respond as quickly as possible with what you consider to be the truth, pause. Find out what you actually think. Even if they just say, "How are you?" Find out how you actually are and answer the question. Don't just say fine. That doesn't contain any information. Sure, that's a social joust, but don't joust. Jordan doesn't. You don't need to either. Present yourself as a thinking, available, open human being, and then have a conversation. You can begin this in your home with people you love. You can do it in the workplace. You can do it virtually anywhere. All you need to do is get curious what you're going to say next rather than having it prepared already. Do a little search of what in the world might I like to say, and then find out what you say. Don't say it in your head first. Say it out here first. Along with that will come a huge degree of trust. Jordan Peterson trusts himself to speak, and yet he never knows what he's going to say. He doesn't have prepared answers. That makes him fascinating, and it'll make you fascinating too. Dare to not know and find out when you're speaking. That makes speech and self-expression a creative act. That's what he's doing, and he's gotten rewarded by so many hits on YouTube simply because nobody else is doing it. That's an opportunity. Do you have questions, or is that okay?
No, just I'll keep it short.
No, that's all right.
So you talked about the idea that Jordan's free and he finds out what he's going to say. But
I didn't say he was free.
Okay.
He doesn't know. and then he finds out what he's going to say right there in real time, interacting with the person.
So what?
As a matter of fact, that's what I'm doing.
Yes.
Yes.
You're exhibiting it now.
Yeah, that's what I do.
What is not there that most people are aware of that keeps them from doing that?
The fear. He has the same fear of making a mistake or being wrong that we do, but in the face of that fear, he doesn't back down into dogma, into his truth, into some pre-recorded message. Most people, especially like you watch somebody on a book tour or something like that, or a speaking tour, they have pre-recorded messages, and they just deliver the pre-recorded messages, and then they go to the next city and deliver the pre-recorded messages. But if you watch most people, they do that in their lives. They get a little story or some little experience that happened to them, and they tell that story to everybody they meet for the next 2 weeks. Or if they won the Little League game 40 years ago, they're still telling people about it today. So they get a little bit of something and they keep repeating it. The idea is to live such an ongoingly creative, unpredictable life that you have new stories all the time. Because today, fascinating things happen to every single one of us. And everybody says, well, what happened to you today? And they say, nothing really. It's not that nothing happened to them, it's that they didn't notice that they're interesting. It's that they don't notice the twists and turns, the fascination of what took place with them. We're all incredibly interesting. And Jordan Peterson dares to know that he is. Because he wonders what he's going to say next, and he has no idea. When you wonder what you're going to say next and have no idea and still do it, you become really interesting to yourself and really interesting to others. Yeah. And then you naturally are interested in them. And they aren't used to anybody being interested in them. And Jordan catapulted himself to the limelight with the one thing about pronouns, but that's beside the point. I mean, it's smart to have done that. But we all need this in our own lives. We need to sit across from our spouse or sit with our kids or sit with ourselves and not know what we're going to say, and then out comes whatever it is.
One of the things I really like about him is he's not afraid to be wrong either. So he'll present information out there, or if somebody presents something contradictory, he'll say, that's a really good point, and I haven't thought enough about that yet. Here's where I'm at right now with it, but that's really good, and I'm going to spend some time with that, to go through that, to look at that.
The willingness to be wrong is a necessary contingent for self-expression. It's okay to be wrong. As a matter of fact, it's damn fun to be wrong. Or to even just say, I don't know. Not all the time, because take a stand and speak something. But he doesn't have any problem being wrong because he's already decided or discovered that he's fascinating and interesting. He knows that a lot of the time when he speaks, something interesting is going to come out of his mouth. Interesting to him. And then it's a secondary gain that it's interesting to other people. I don't think he saw that gain coming to this degree.
So he's had enough experience of going through these processes over a period of time that he's becoming more and more interesting, and more people want to know who he is. I think you're saying to the listening audience that one of the secrets is start to explore it, get past these blocks yourself, get past these fears.
Well, watch out, because you just embedded the idea that he's done this enough that he's getting better at it. I assure you he's not better at it than when he started.
Okay.
He was this good when he started. Now people are catching on and people are interested. But at the same time, a few weeks ago I saw a comedian who was incredibly fresh, interesting humor. I was dazzled by his humor. It turns out he's been working for 30-some years on cruise ships, and he's just ironed out such good humor and such unique humor, but it's the same every single time. Jordan is doing something really different than that. He's creating it each moment. This would be like walking on to that comedian walking onto the stage, having no idea what he's going to say. Instead, he's totally choreographed everything. So that's the opposite of it.
Gotcha.
Jordan is simply, he's done his homework, which is important in a case like this, because he's arguing ideas or talking about ideas. So he's done his homework. But from the very start, he dared to express himself. He put what he can learn ahead of what he already knows. Most of us put what we already know ahead of what we can learn. So if he goes to a conversation with somebody, he's very interested in what he's going to learn, not so interested in what he knows already. He isn't there trying to prove himself. He's there trying to improve himself. And consequently, he gets better and better and better and better. It's a constant learning because he's committed more to learning than he is to already knowing.
Yeah, that's a great distinction. So we've got all these millennials. His audience is of big young men, millennials, but his female audience is growing dramatically as well.
Is it? I didn't know that. I knew his male audience was big.
It's really starting to take off. He just talked about that recently. So with this going on, but the thing is, I listen to him, his dialogues are 3 hours long, and we think of millennials as not having a good attention span. What's happening that they're staying with these 3-hour conversations, this long format?
It's really simple. They aren't 3-hour conversations. They're moment-to-moment conversations. And moment-to-moment is not 3 hours. If you ask someone, whether millennial or not, to sit for 3 hours, they're not interested. Nobody wants to sit for 3 hours, except maybe opera goers. But each moment, they don't know what's going to happen. So each moment, it's a new conversation. Each moment, we don't know. So it isn't. It's only 3 hours if you look at it that way. If you look at the moment to moment, it's this moment and this moment and this moment. Their attention span only needs to be one moment. So they don't experience this as 3 hours. They experience it as a series of interesting moments.
And that goes with the research. Ellen Langer did a bunch of research on that, and she said new and different is what keeps the attention span of a human being. You want to keep somebody's attention?
Yeah, novelty.
Novelty. New and different novelty.
Yeah, something new popping into attention reminds us that our attention is a useful tool rather than simply a parrot repeating the same words.
So that the audience, really, if they keep in this novelty, this new and different, they learn from it.
Well, hopefully they would start picking this up as a way of conversing themselves so that Jordan Peterson doesn't become the exception who's able to do this, worshipped by throngs of people who aren't able to do this. Ideally, they would discover how to do this themselves, because certainly they have the ability to do it. Anybody has the ability to do it. But they have to put what they can learn ahead of what they already know. They have to dare to express themselves freely and not hide behind their dogma.
And it seems, like you said, the left, the right, the middle, whoever's listening to them, they stay tuned because of this. And it seems like it's for lack of a better word right now, a technology that everybody can get together on if we learn to do this. Even when we have our differences, the idea of what I'm learning is more important than what I know brings us together.
Yeah, we could, to put it in simple words, we could call it being true to the moment.
True to the moment. I love it.
He's being true to the moment. And naturally, that's going to supersede political orientation. It's... Years ago, when I started leading workshops, I thought everybody wanted to be in the moment, because people talk like that. Then I discovered that it's the last place they ever want to be, because in the moment you're naked, in the moment you're unprotected, in the moment you're available, in the moment you're open. Jordan Peterson is a voice for being in the moment. At the same time, he has some limitations, because in the moment he consistently picks his mind as something to depend upon. He seldom accesses his sensations or his kinesthetic indicators. So he's saying, be in the moment and be in your head. I shouldn't be saying this, but those are contradictory, because if you're in your head, you're not really in the moment. But he lives so much closer to the moment than most people that they have a tremendous amount to learn from him as far as daring to be closer to the moment. He's not delivering a stump speech like politicians do from one stop to the other. He's selling original thinking in the moment. Imagine having an argument with a spouse in which both of you are creating what's being said in the moment. It would be it would be vital, it would be thrilling, it would indicate your individuality and yet your connectedness. At the same time, I don't know what Jordan Peterson's relationship with his wife, but my suspicion is she doesn't want to have him think one more time. Because deeper connections with people has to do with a lot more than simply thinking in the moment or near the moment.
Yeah,
my guess is she wants to say "shut the fuck up" to him, but that's just a guess.
And then what? If he shuts up, what would she want to do next?
Yeah, that's you know, you might touch, you might do something other than that.
So when I saw you putting out something on your Facebook about Jordan Peterson, I got really excited because I wanted to do an interview with you about that, because I saw how talented he was in what he was doing with just thinking in his mind. And knowing you for years and going to your seminars and studying your material, you doing the same thing with all your senses. And so the magic of, you know, bringing people's awareness to say this is possible with what you can do if you really stay close to the moment with your mind, which is basically concepts. What if you go to your body, you know, and you're hearing and you're listening and just all your senses?
A particular word comes to mind, and it fits me rather well. It's incredibly indulgent. Because in the moment, there's no pressure. In the moment, there's no drive. In the moment, there's no motivation to be somewhere else. In the moment, it's purely blissful exactly as it is. So this is really the essence of indulgent. It's the best luxury.
How do you indulge? How does the audience learn to start indulging? What can you give? You're great with exercises. You're great with. What would somebody do to start indulging in the moment fully?
Whew.
Beginning step.
I've spent 35 years teaching that, and I like your question. Number one, and I'm going to come up with 5 odd ones for you, and of course I don't have any idea what they are. So here's number one. As Byron Katie would say, don't believe your thoughts. Number one is don't believe your thoughts. When you have a thought, don't believe your thoughts. The purpose of your thoughts is for your own entertainment. It isn't to be right. It isn't to prove a point. It isn't to find the truth. It's for your own entertainment. When you don't believe your thoughts become humorous and fun. They become quite enjoyable. Number two, it's impossible to overstate the role of novelty. Whatever you already know how to do differently. Seek out what you don't know how to do. Learn to speak a different language. Talk on the phone with the opposite ear. Vary absolutely anything you possibly can. in your life.
Even just a little bit, right?
Even just a little bit. Put a different pant leg on first. Anything you can vary informs your system that you're more interesting than you thought you were. That you're much more interesting. Number 3, don't ever do what you have to do. If you have to correct somebody, shut up. If you have to go to work, stay home. Don't ever do what you have to do, because the only way you can find out that you don't have to do anything is don't do it. Free yourself. We did away with slavery a long time ago, allegedly, but it's alive and well in every household and every corporation in the country. People perceive, I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to do this, I have to do that. If there's nothing you have to do. Shockingly enough, the world keeps going round, whether you do it or not. I think I not only want them to say yes, and I love that one. And notice that you weren't comfortable with how long it was taking me to come up with one.
Yeah.
It's part of the fun. Not only say yes, but also, and it doesn't seem, I don't know, it's all right, I guess. Be kind. Really, truly, err on the side of kindness on a regular basis. These are mean times. Exercise your ability to be kind. Along with that, kindness and anger balance out in the liver in Chinese systems. Take care of your body, take care of your liver, and be kind. That's number 4. And number 5, I think, might have something to do with it's odd, but put your eyes up a bunch. You have a number of different senses that you can play with. You can play with seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, feeling. You can play with all 5 of those. But most people, in our culture for sure, and other cultures as well, get really stuck in hearing. They pay attention to the thoughts in their head that come up as an internal dialogue. If you instead put your eyes up, you tend to get into pictures, and there's much less mischief, much less heaviness, much greater speed in pictures. In other words, look at the clouds a little more often. Look at the ceilings a little more often. I used to have a client who was a therapist, and she was a brilliant therapist in that corporate types would come and visit her. What she said didn't really make any difference. But she was tremendously in her pictures, in seeing things. And these heavy-duty corporate people would come into her office thinking and all like this. They would leave her office happy and up, and it made a huge difference to them. They had just submerged into a whole world without so much judgment. Without heaviness, with just simply lightness. It's worth remembering that we are light, and so we might as well be light, since we are, and that's what we get out of our pictures. That was nice.
I was shutting up.
We're doing better.
Yes.
Are we?
Oh man, this is.
We've taken off. I mean, these 2 are much better than the previous one.
Yeah. Where did you go? You're at a whole nother place.
I am. I left evaluation and just went to enjoyment. Went to loving you, and the video disappeared. That's a very nice place. I'm sitting in Georgia in my house with your company. Erroneous thoughts entirely disappear. I have the freedom to make up whatever I want, however I want, which is a freedom that our founding fathers suggested we had. Funny, they proposed we had the freedom to pursue pleasure. Pursue's the mistaken word there. We have the right to have unlimited pleasure each moment.
Indulgent pleasure.
Indulgent pleasure each moment. I'm sorry for Jordan Peterson because I think when he walks off the stage, he keeps thinking. That's too bad. Because to live the way he does, the way he presents when interacting with other people, if he did that with himself as well, on an ongoing basis, and started to expand to his other senses, his approach would vary much more than it does. Currently, you can turn the sound off on his recordings, and he's doing the same exact things every single time. So he's unpatterned at the level of content, and at the level of process, he's still very patterned. And you said, where did you go? It's lots of places. That's what he does. Seamlessness has to be earned. And seamlessness is important, which is a place with no borders, no boundaries. Then we have to earn it by, among other things, daring to live without the stops and starts we use to define ourselves. We need something to end in order to evaluate how we did, but nothing ever ends. So then we pretend it ended, so then we could put a pretend evaluation on it. And that's just not really the flow of things. It's not how things work.
Well, let's hope Jordan Peterson sees this, and I just wonder what kind of impact if he started incorporating those other senses in it.
He's a very smart fellow. It wouldn't surprise me. It doesn't look to me like his success is going to his head, which means he's probably got a lot of other sticks to go. That would be my guess.
Yeah, he was asking Joe Rogan about that. He's like, because Joe says, what are you going to do? And he says, I don't know, Joe. I've never been here before. Tell me, you've been here for a little while. What do you do? I'm still trying to figure this thing out. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, and Joe Rogan speaks very nicely of it, because he says, all of a sudden, lots of people started viewing what I do. I don't know what happened, but suddenly they started viewing that. But I mean, Joe Rogan has a very mixed background. So one of the things he did was he did all kinds of things. You learn a lot from doing all kinds of things, and you exhibit skills that are going to serve you in the future. I think what Jordan Peterson's saying is I do one thing over and over again. And Joe Rogan's done a lot of things.
They're a good match. Joe said that of the 1,200 interviews he's done, that Jordan's interviews were his favorite.
Ah,
which is,
that's nice.
I think they complement each other.
That's nice, and yet I've seen him do a number of interviews, and he's able to make everyone look like his favorite.
Yeah.
Did you, I don't know if you saw that link, Hamilton Morris?
No.
Hamilton Morris, as Judson says, is a guy who will take any drug you give him. And they're talking about psychedelics, and he's very knowledgeable. I have to send that to you. Between 1 hour and 18 minutes, and for about the next 10 minutes they talk about Iboga. And among other things they say, who in the world, nobody would ever take this recreationally. Oh, I do. But yeah, I mean, you know, in that 10 minutes, you'll hear about the king of these shamanic medicines. It just sends shivers all up and down my spine when they're talking about it. Hamilton Morris says, it's just a fascinating molecule. It's just he's a chemist. It's an unbelievable molecule. It's just not what anybody would expect there to ever be. Got it. That's how I experience it.
He just hasn't met anybody that has your processing power to be able to take that molecule.
Yeah, I would not say that in the face of Iboga or ayahuasca or San Pedro. My processing power is quickly exhibited to be nothing in particular.
But you're able to maintain it as...
I say yes. I say yes. And I say yes some more. And one of the things is to learn from what's going on with you. Because I went... after an overdose of 36 hours lying on my back, getting up once, I decided that the thing to do was, when I take it, make sure I've peed, make sure I've vacated my bowels, make sure I don't have to get up. So the last time I did it, I made sure I got up about every 20 minutes. I just had to get up. I had to get up. I peed so many times in that 24-hour trip. I peed so many times without ever having to pee, because I would get up and go to the bathroom because I had found a place to hide, which was lying there. And if you find a place to hide, don't go there anymore. Really, don't go there anymore. Because we didn't come to Earth to hide. We came to Earth to flaunt ourselves. I found a place to hide, just lying there and proving to myself that I didn't have to pee. It was very funny. One of the things I added to that is massively enjoying the trip to the bathroom. Just really enjoying it as if it was some lifelong odyssey on the way to the bathroom. Because why not? Especially if you're tripping out of your mind. Why not? You know, usually if you go to the bathroom, you don't have any company. In this case, I had Iboga, the great-grandfather of Roots, as company. So I didn't have to go to the bathroom by myself.
Yeah. And how many times does Iboga get to go to the bathroom? You allowed that to happen, right? And what a reward you got.
Yeah. Roots need company too.
Yeah.
Thank you, dear.